This
Okay.
is episode 138. Today I have with me Dr. Patel, and we are going to talk about hormones. Welcome to Wellness in Every Season, the podcast where we explore the rich tapestry of wellness in all of its forms. I'm your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach turned wellness coach, as well as a certified parenting coach dedicated to empowering others to rediscover their identity in their current season of life. My goal is to help you thrive both as an individual and as a parent. I have so many people asking about hormones in particular. They're about my age, and I'm turning 40 in the fall. And there is so many misconceptions. So when I heard that Dr. Patel wanted to be on my podcast, I was super excited. And I am putting him in as my solo episode spot just so I can get him to you guys sooner. I am so excited. Let me start by asking you, Dr. Patel, to share a little bit about your background, really give your authority here so that people who are starting to listen really know, like, stop what you're doing and pay attention.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. I started my career very early on, about 28 years ago, as a compounding pharmacist. And very quickly, I realized that to be successful or what the patients were looking for at that time were something different, something unique, what your body's already doing, which is hormones. Back then, synthetic hormones was given to everybody and because was kind of frowned upon or not heavily accepted at that time. But I started my career basically start talking to my patients, start educating them one by one. And today, 25 years later, I have literally helped over 5,000 doctors all over the country help start their practice on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. So today, personally, myself, I don't see a lot of patients anymore. I usually consult with doctors only, and I help them so they can help all the patients in the world. Because if I'm doing it by myself, I can only see so many patients a day. If I can train the other doctors, I can see infinite amount of patients per day. And so that's my goal. So for the last 20 plus years, my focus was shifted towards training doctors, helping design drug protocols that actually make sense and that can help the patient achieve the wellness goals faster.
How much time, and it's okay if you don't know this question, I can edit this out, but how much time do doctors spend learning about medications and deep diving in that compared to you as a compound pharmacist?
So the medication courses in the medical community during the school years is very small amount. It's probably one semester. So pharmacology is not one of the major component of doctors' learning. Their main focus is diagnosing, trying to find the root cause analysis, making sure what they know what the cause is. And the treatment plan is led on the pharmacist. The pharmacist spend literally 4 years of just learning about drugs and how to use it effectively for every human being. But even in the pharmacy school, we're only being taught to use the medications that are commercially available. When it comes to bioidenticals, you have to figure these things out. And some of this information is already there in published literature, but you have to read through that and learn about how to use these medications correctly. And so, as a compounding pharmacist, our number one job is not to make medications, even though that's what we're known for is making medications. But our number one job is to find the right therapy for our patients that's going to work for them. So making medication is okay, but if the medication is not going to work for you, it doesn't really matter about what I made you.
And then can we talk about what is a compound pharmacist compared to a normal pharmacist?
That's far.
And
I
I
mean,
looked a bit separately. It was a whole thing just to see that compound pharmacist.
yeah, so we are in Southern California and there are plenty of compounding pharmacy over here. 25, 27 years ago when I first started, there were only like 12 compounding pharmacy in the whole state of California. And then at the peak, there are about 400 of us in the one state alone. And now it's come back down to maybe a couple of hundred right now, or maybe less than that as well. So there's company pharmacists all over the state in California.
I grew up in Arizona, so yeah, Maryland was never on my radar to move to.
But the company pharmacists are actually doing something different than a retail pharmacist because retail pharmacists, their main focus is to read the prescriptions, fill the prescriptions, educate the patients about the proper use of medications and making sure they understand how to take it correctly and to store it correctly, what to do when something goes wrong, side effects profiles and things like that,
And they
right?
hardly ever do those things, but yes.
That's what they're supposed to be doing. That's what the retail pharmacist would do. A compounding pharmacist is actually working with your physicians, trying to figure out what therapy is actually going to work for you. And then it's a collaboration, right? The doctor will call the pharmacist and say, hey, I have this patient, I have Autumn, and this is her issue, and this is what I think is going to need her. And then him and her, I can discuss together to what the therapy will look like and what the outcomes that they wish to get. And then we get to decide what medications is going to be appropriate for her. Now, if something is already available commercially, we don't have to make anything. And something is not available commercially, then we got to go and make those medications. And so that's the difference. It's a collaboration piece that kicks in because you cannot make a medication until you understand the whole patient's history. And the history, the doctor has a history. I don't have the history. And so it's a collaboration that kicks in with the physician and the pharmacist working together, trying to make a medication that is actually going to work for you in the way that you can tolerate. And by doing so, our hope is the medication is actually going to work for you. Number two, it's going to make sure that you have less side effects or no side effects. And the third part is that it's customized to your particular needs. And so in that sense, it's supposed to be better. That's the hope.
You have the right doctor. So
Well, that's another
you
thing
have to have
too.
everything come together in the right way.
No, it's bioidentical.
Yes.
Bioidentical. So it's something that we all should be thinking about it, right? So hormones are chemicals that your body produces internally. And so those chemicals are there to support your pregnancy, they're to support giving you menstrual flow every month. It basically is an angel of life and angel of death. Too much can kill you, not enough, you'll go crazy. And you do the right amount, right proportion every single day, every single month, over and over and over again, right? So those hormones are chemicals that are produced internally. Now, the term bioidentical comes in is because if you take a medication from outside as a pill or a cream or whatever, you want to make sure that product exactly is identical to what a body produces internally. Chemically, it has to be identical.
And what if
If,
it isn't?
and if it's not, then it's called non-bioidentical or it's called synthetic,
And
right?
what does it do to our body? Why is one better than the other? Like, I already
Well,
know, but tell everybody else.
the thing is, if it's bioidentical, the body has the systems to work with it. The body knows how to get rid of it. Because if you take a product that your body has no idea what to do with it will sit in your body for long periods of time, sometimes 10, 20 days, and sometimes 10, 15 years before it gets out of your body. And if it stayed for that long, these chemicals are dangerous. And so you want to get it inside your body, get the job done, and get out of there. And if you cannot get out of your body fast enough, that's where the side effects, the toxicities, the long-term issues with medications comes into place, like cancer growth.
Okay, we have our really good foundation here. So let's transition and talk about, now that we have this understanding, we're on the right page.
Uh-huh.
Let's dive into hormones
Okay.
and the actual meat of this. I'm so excited. Everybody grab your fork. So tell us the rest of why you're on here. What are you wanting to talk about? Let's roll this out.
So I want to basically talk about hormones in how is it different from other things? Why is this so important? Why are we talking about this today? When I talked to my mom, I said, my grandma never took hormones. If she never took hormones, then why are we talking about this today, right? What's changed over the years that there's such a huge imbalances in the hormones that we had to talk about this today? And in the 50 years ago, maybe the hormones were not prescribed as much because the needs were very small. And so today, the whole things have changed. And so change is what we will talk about. Why is it affecting in this era? And can we do something about it today, non-medication wise? Can we do something about it so that we don't have to suffer? If you're in your mid-20s today, or even your early 20s today, and listen to this podcast, I want you to feel that there's hope, that if you can do things correctly now, then there's a chance that you may not need to take any hormones when you get older. And there's a possibility like that as well available. That's why I'm here today.
Great. And I know that this is so important. This was something that my mom was very fearful for me. She had thyroid problems my whole life. She still has them. She has always been worried that I would too, because I've had other hereditary things from her. And I live a very different lifestyle. And so far, I've been totally fine. The doctors know to make sure with
Awesome.
my blood work and everything. So I know that lifestyle is very important for this.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, how do we know whether our hormones are imbalanced or not, separate from blood work, just within ourselves? How can we know that maybe things aren't quite right? I know for some people it can show up as acne, it can be a myriad of things.
Of course. There are about 150 signs and symptoms of hormone imbalances. It could be mood swings, anxiety, depression, acne, facial hair growth, even candida or gut dysbiosis where your bowel movements are not synchronized. There's so many different things: hot flashes, night sweats, sleep disturbances, osteoporosis, heart issues, kidney issues. I mean, there's all myriad of problems that could happen because of hormone imbalances. And
Osteoporosis is shocking for me. I just learned
and
something new.
the best part is that you know if there's something is hormone related is if you're in perimenopause or PMS stage, that is before menopause, that the symptoms goes away as soon as you start your period. If the symptoms goes away, whatever that is, that particular symptom is hormone related.
Interesting.
So that's, in a nutshell, is a very simple way of looking at it. But I want to go over which hormones are we talking about in the first place? Because in the reality is that you can talk about all the different hormones, which is way too many to discuss. We only can discuss the few hormones that we have power to change. There's no time to talk about hormones that we cannot change anything. And so if we can change estrogen, then let's talk about estrogen. If we change testosterone, then let's talk about testosterone. Certain things, human beings, we're not willing to change. If you look at the whole hormonal problems, you can put them in a pyramid scheme. Okay. The bottom of the pyramid, which is the base, which is a 40% of the total problem, the 40% total solution. Either way, you can look at it either way, right? The base is linked to stress management or cortisol. Okay. Your adrenal glands that manages your stressors for you and stress management. And because of that, it produces various levels of cortisol. And if it's not the cortisol, then it's adrenaline. And you know what that looks like also, because that's what people jump off the cliff without a parachute. And hopefully they'll get somebody to rescue them over the time, right? Anyways, God bless them. But that's a stress management. That's 40% of the problem with 40% of the solution, right? The next 30%, which is the next big thing of the big chunk, is insulin or diet or nutrition. Again, you can look at it as a problem or look at it as a solution. Some people say, oh, I eat healthy most of the time, but I have Fridays my cheat day. I said, God did not build human beings with cheat days into it. It didn't factor that one day you are allowed to cheat and the whole system will shut off, so you can just go in and comes out and nothing will happen to it. No, the human body was not designed to have cheat days, but we have cheat days just so that we can have some fun in life. Anyways, so that's a 30% of the problem or the solution. So 70%, the total problems or the total solution is in your hands. How are you going to manage stressors or stress, and how are you going to manage your diet? You don't need me for that. You may need me just to get answers or to maybe reinforce what you already know.
So
But
you
you
would need me as a wellness coach.
yeah, you need a wellness coach for that. Perfect. You do that work. That's not what I want to spend a lot of time doing, because that's something that is, you need to have a clear idea of how to design your life together. Then comes the 20%. The 20% of the solution of the problem is thyroid. Thyroid is such a small gland right above your neck area, and yet it controls your whole body's temperature, the whole body's function, and the chemical reaction that happens in your body the whole time. Everything is controlled by a thyroid. It's such a small gland. The thyroid needs iodine to work. And most of the iodine in the environment is radioactive. And so this radioactive ions, when you get inside your throat and inside your gland, guess what? People have a lot of thyroid issues. I mean, it's estimated that 50% or more of the total world's population have thyroid issues. So, yeah, can you avoid some of those problems? Maybe. Maybe some of them you cannot. And so sometimes if you cannot avoid the problems, then you got to figure out how to get rid of the problem if you do get exposed to it on a daily basis, right? What's your diet that can help you get rid of all this toxic exposure to chemicals and substances or heavy metals that can cause a problem in the first place? So that's the thyroid. And the last piece, the 10% of the total solution for the whole endocrine system is your sex hormones. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHA, everything in one. That's 10%. But guess what? You want to talk about today is about hormones. That's 10% of the total solution.
Tell me about the 20% though, with the radioactive. I'm curious about that.
All right. Radioactivity is everywhere. Of course, the higher up you go above the sea level, the worse it gets. So when you fly in this aluminum chute, we call it the plane, you're exposing your whole body to cosmic, right? So the more you fly, the more chance you have to damage your thyroid gland.
Was you on Monday?
Which is me all the time, right? So it happens. It is not something that I can avoid as much as possible, that I would love to avoid. That's why I'm loving that we are able to do this remotely. You are in East Coast, I'm on West Coast, and yet we're still here talking to each other and getting this message out to the world. In the previous time, this was not possible, right? And so if you can do that, if we can do that, so does everybody else can do the same thing. So stop flying. I hope there's no airline industry CEOs watching this podcast, otherwise they'll kill me.
Well, they know you fly all the time, so they're going to revoke your frequent flyer miles.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
That's just one thing, right? But thyroid gland is very finicky. Anything toxic exposure to your body, it affects your thyroid gland. And when you have toxic exposure, even viruses can increase your thyroid production in your body.
Oh, yeah. My body's going through that right now. I had COVID, and every time after I have COVID, I have to get something else because it wipes out my immune system. And
Exactly.
yeah.
So that's the same thing. Those are lumped into, sometimes we call them Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Hashimoto's, it was a Dr. Hashimoto who first found out that the thyroid increase in the thyroid levels was due to viral infection. But today they use Hashimoto's thyroiditis for anybody who has high amounts of antibodies. That means the body is attacking your own thyroid, but we don't know, is it exposure to toxic chemicals? Is it heavy metals? Is it something else? Is it viruses? When you do not know the part, how the heck do you find a treatment plan for that person?
Makes sense.
I can make your thyroid for you, and it gets you balanced up thyroid, but how am I going to get rid of this chemical or heavy metal or something toxic inside your body that's not supposed to be there, which I don't even know what it is. So that is the issue with the thyroid. It's one of those hormones that is underprescribed, undervalued, but it has a profound impact on patients' lives because thyroid, if it's too much, oh my God, cause all kinds of problems. Too little, and shoot, you are in deep trouble.
My mom went from one to the other.
Yeah, and it happens all the time in my patient populations. And as practitioners, we are puzzled sometimes as to what to do because we try to give a dose that's going to be appropriate, and hopefully the dose is working for you for a month or two, and third month it just goes high or low. or it's not working enough for you. So we constantly have to keep on evaluating the thyroid requirements based on how your body's responding to it.
Okay, so let's talk more about this 10%. Now that I understand the radiation part and that I
Okay.
don't want to live in Colorado, and probably people who live there, Colorado is pretty, just it's higher above sea level. That was what I only thought. So tell us about the 10% now.
So what do you know about the 10%? The
So
hormones.
the top of the pyramid, what do I know about hormones?
What do you know about hormones?
Oh, what do I want to know? So that is a very good question. Let's start with those who are in my age bracket.
Okay.
They're in the perimenopause. Let's stay there for a while. But they're in that phase and they're having the extra weight gain. They're having the hot flashes. They're starting to have the cystic acne. I was just talking to somebody last week who all of a sudden is having acne flare ups, really crazy. And I was asking her about her hormones, and she said, you know what? I had some leftover hormone meds, so I'm just taking those again. And just okay, but maybe you should see a medical professional and make sure and like check the expiration. But anyway, that's an aside for her. Let's talk about people who are in that situation. They're female, since majority of my audience is female. And for those who aren't female who are listening, share this with those who are, because we tend to struggle silently for way too long, and then finally we tell everybody about it. But it's when we're at our wits' end and we've already been struggling for years. So please share this.
Hormone changes happens very early on as the first period you have, right? I don't know, age of 10, 12, 15, something like that. When the body goes through changes, it's all of a sudden now, wait a second, I'm getting period now for the very first time. And so the body has to, the pituitary, your brain has to start thinking as to what makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel good. So it's trying to adjust the hormone levels to make sure that your whole body is functioning normally fine without having any side effects or any effects whatsoever. What we call them is if something happens to you, we call PMS, right? Premenstrual syndrome, all the symptoms that you have before you get your period. So that's what happens very, very early on in your life, in teenage years. If you don't correct it, it goes into early adolescence, 20s, even 30s, even 40s. And then it makes the perimenopause years even more treacherous for you because now all of a sudden the body can never figure out what's the right or how much to produce every month. And so, and there are a lot of ladies that have gone through PMS, perimenopause into menopause, and then they come to us and say, oh my God, I wish I had known you 35 years ago, right? And that has happened sometimes as well. So what's happening is that your hormone levels are very low or non-existing when you're born. And then in the teenage years, the body's getting ready to get pregnant. So you start producing hormones, right? Every month you produce estrogens and estrogen levels drops. You produce more progesterone because of ovulation. And in the absence of pregnancy, the progesterone levels will drop. You have your menses for the first 5 to 7 days of your cycle. And that happens every single month. If you didn't get pregnant, next month starts all over again. Your FSH, which is your pituitary, will tell your ovaries to produce more estrogens. Estrogens get your eggs ready. When the eggs are ready, 14 days later, there's an ovulation time. Ovulation happens. Your body starts producing more progesterone so that if you do get pregnant, that egg and the embryo get into the uterine lining. And if that happens, the progesterone level will start rising even more. But in the absence of pregnancy, the progesterone level will drop again. At the day of your cycle, you have your menses, get the whole lining, and restart the whole process over and over again until you hit menopause. So what's happening is that your hormone levels are very high when you're younger, very high because you need those high hormones to have a very good chance to get pregnant, right? And then what happens is that the levels are fluctuating at a very good pace, right? These are very healthy human beings, no problems whatsoever. And then something about perimenopause, it's about 10 years before you hit menopause. And the first sign of perimenopause is the very first time you had a missed period or the cycle is irregular. All of a sudden, oh my God, I'm getting cycles every 2 months now. The first sign of that happening is a first sign of you going through the change. It'll take you another good 10 years before you go into menopause, but those 10 years are going to be hard. Put it in simple terms. When the patients are going through the changes, what's required is making sure that if your body cannot produce the hormones that it needs to get you in a proper balance, we as a pharmacist and the physicians can work together to give this formula for what your body is missing. When we do that part, the hormone level gets in balance, and when it gets in balance, you feel better. You cannot measure balance. We just blood tests, saliva tests, urine tests. I don't care what testings you do. It's a snapshot, but it's not telling you the whole picture of who you are.
And it's the average.
Right?
It's average for the population. And I know it can
Exactly.
be different depending on gender, can be different depending on your age, your race.
And the other mitigating factors in this whole hormone cycles is your exposure to alcohol, exposure to smoke, either you cigarette smoking or fireplace or firefighters. I don't know what kind of jobs you have, but smoke can also affect your hormone cycles. Exposure to a lot of metals like cadmium or arsenic or aluminum or mercury. Things like that can also affect your hormone levels. Exposure to cosmic radiations and UV radiations affecting your thyroid glands can affect your hormone levels. Not having proper eating habits.
That is my mom. So, okay, I'm seeing
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. So your eating habits can also fluctuate the need for hormones. It doesn't affect your hormone production, but it affects the need for hormones, right? When you eat a lot of sugary stuff, your insulin rises, and sometimes eating sugar can get you hot flashes, right? When you have high stress, you cannot think better. Your cortisol levels are very high. Your DHA goes up very high as well. And that's how you get acne and facial hair growth and all the side effects related to too much of testosterone or androgens. We want to make sure that in order to get a proper hormone balancing done at any stage of your life, we had to look into account your stress, your diet, your exposure to toxic chemicals, and any modern day conveniences that you bring in your life, like drinking from plastic water bottles or living in your car the whole time, right? And consuming a lot of fumes, or driving electrical car, and the electric cars are having a lot of cadmium in there. And so all these are affecting your hormonal cycles, your ability to have babies, so fertility issues, and ability for the body to stay in homeostasis or stay always in a balanced fashion at all times. And when this is out of balance, this is why you have all these different symptoms. 150 different symptoms you have because of this one reason.
Let's go back to you were talking about your parents. That was the generation you were talking about, right? How much sleep were they getting compared to now? Because I'm sure back then, a majority of them followed the sun. Now we have all this artificial light. It's now getting dark outside, but you can't tell because I have this nice ring light up here. And we'll turn off the lights, but we're on the TV or on our phone or Kindle or whatever. So we have this light that's constantly getting at us. We tend to have a sense of self with how busy we are, which adds to our stress, which reduces our sleep. I've read a bunch of research for one of my senior projects. It was around sleep. We hold on to so much stress because simply we're not getting enough sleep. There's so many other reasons why we hold on to stress. I know that sleep is our way of flushing that toilet and letting all of the toxins come out of our body. We simply aren't doing that. I feel like that goes right in that bottom of your pyramid that you're talking about.
Yeah. So when I talk about sleep, sleep is a whole different cascade of chain reactions that changes the whole physiology. Because what it really does when you go to sleep, it activates all our detox pathways. It activates the pressure of glutathione. That's my whole research for the last 25 plus years. I've been working on glutathione the most. And your nighttime glutathione levels rises to clean up your kidneys, clean up your liver, get rid of all the toxins from your body. And if you don't sleep, guess what? You accumulate over time all these toxic chemicals, pesticides, fertilizers, heavy metals, all those things gets accumulated over time into your body, but you're not able to release it. So sleep is by far the most important thing. I also do a lot of consulting on wellness regimens and longevity regimens because I have a lot of clients. Most of my clients are doctors themselves. So doctors, they understand the stress and what it needs to be done for themselves personally. I design protocols for some of the doctors for longevity protocols. The number one thing we talk about is how can we get good night's sleep?
Doctors are some of the worst patients.
How they are.
I just had somebody on who is a burnout coach for doctors for that very reason.
Yep. That is absolutely correct. And it's something that they have to consciously think about putting them to sleep.
And so do moms. You're kind of a doctor if you're a mom just with that sleep schedule, especially if you have a newborn. Oh my goodness. I do not want to relive any of those times again. It was great having a newborn minus the lack of sleep. And I'm supposed to be recovering while not getting enough sleep and taking care of a newborn. That never made sense to me.
Yeah, the whole system, the way it's set up, it doesn't make sense because you need the mom to be restful in order to recuperate, regenerate. And the baby's demands are so high that sometimes it's hard to keep up with those demands. Being a mom is probably one of the most difficult thing because the stress level is extremely high and they do age faster than men do, especially after the second, third, God forbid, fourth child. It becomes
I have
harder and
four.
harder.
Yeah.
So it becomes so stressful overall. And men appreciate the amount of stress that women can withstand and run the house and run the whole life for all the kids and making sure everybody's care of it is extremely stressful. Making sure that people understand that that stress needs to be dealt with. It's not just going to go away by magic. So we constantly have to think, what can we do to reduce it? What kind of routines can we set up to help reduce the stress? If we cannot do that part, make sure the other 60%, which is your diet, your thyroid, your hormones, are completely in sync if the stress is not able to manage it. But I strongly suggest that if we can manage stress better, then everything starts falling into place. So, yeah, it's hats off to you, by the way. But at the same time, I understand what you have to go through. And by the time you hit menopause, whenever that happens, having a good coach that understands the hormones or making sure that your hormones are already on board to begin with so you don't jump off the cliff. One day you have hormones, the next one you have no hormones and just jumping off the cliff. And that's what the problem is. It's not that the hormone levels are dropping over time for everybody anyways, but all of a sudden you have high levels of hormones and the next one you have no hormones remaining whatsoever. The jumping off the cliff is what seems to be the biggest problem for the pituitary to compensate how the body's going to respond to it.
So I was very shocked over all the things I was not told to expect during the postpartum period.
Uh-huh.
Like that my uterus was going to contract and have cramps and it was going to be miserable.
Huh?
And that it gets worse with each pregnancy. We don't talk about what to expect with menopause and the symptoms. So let's unpack that. I don't even know if normal is the right word to use because we have a new normal. But what is okay and what is not okay, and we need to see somebody.
So when it comes to any symptoms you're facing, if you're cramping really hard, yes, you need to see a doctor because if you're not feeling good, there is no gold medal for plowing through the problems. If you're looking for attaboy, it doesn't exist. Your husband will tell you the same thing and say, well, do something about it.
Didn't know who to go to when I'm having pain. So when I have my
That's the problem.
gallbladder pain, my husband and gallbladder attacks for 3 hours at a time while having a newborn and 2 little toddlers. My husband's telling me this isn't okay. And I'm like, duh, it's happening to my body. And he's like, okay, let's go to the ER. And I told him no, because I'm used to the ER in Arizona where they're
Uh,
so overwhelmed that I'd never be seen. And I wasn't sure if they'd even know what it was. So I went to Dr. Google and found out it was my gallbladder. and then went through the series to get to the right surgeon.
The concern has always been
Part of
who
it's that
does.
is
Yep.
going through that whole process and the, okay, I might have the answer. No, I don't. So how do we get through that part as well?
And that part is, again, that's just education. So either you get yourself educated or you find a doctor who's educated enough to help you with this problem, right? With every pregnancy that you're getting, your hormone levels are dropping really fast and you don't have enough progesterone. When the uterine lining contracts, that's when the clamping, everything comes into place. But if you just take the progesterone, like as soon as you deliver the baby, you just can take the progesterone for at least 2 or 3 more months, then instead of jumping off the cliff, the progesterone levels gradually decline slowly down.
Before,
All of a sudden, then the pain is not there anymore, right? And so, yes, there are all these hormones you can take, but until you hit menopause, we strongly suggest that you only, instead of dealing with all the hormones, you can just deal with one hormone. And if that one hormone is properly balanced, everything else comes into line. And
oh, so it's not
that's
this
progesterone.
magical, okay.
That's progesterone. If you can manage progesterone to be the right amount in your body that your body needs, testosterone, DHA, pregnenolone, everything falls into place, and you feel better. So until you hit menopause, that's all you need is just making sure the progesterone levels are enough in your body. Once you hit menopause, the body doesn't produce any hormones. Everything is produced by the adrenal glands. And so you need to replace estrogen, testosterone, DHEA, progesterones. Everything needs to be replaced at this point, right? Until menopause, it's just one hormone, right? Sometimes you may need some testosterone and estrogens, but those are very rare cases. Majority of the time, 9 out of 10 times, you just need some progesterone to counterbalance all the other hormones.
So for those that are listening and want to go even deeper,
Huh?
is it wise to follow you, or do you have a list of doctors you've trained that we can go to, or
Yeah.
what's the best
So
thing?
I do consult with other doctors as well. There's a company called Thrive Lab, an online platform that I do consult with them. And I have trained doctors on that platform. If you go to that platform and see patients from there, all of the doctors are trained by me. We do help support every patient's needs from there. But that's just one platform. There's a book called Once a Month by Katrina Dalton. Now, she passed away a long time ago, but it's an amazing book to read, especially before you go into menopause. The last edition was printed in 1999, but it's an amazing book to read. It's her whole life of how she dealt with issues. Dr. Dalton, an OBGYN by trade, she went to rescue herself. And then she started writing the books and started seeing the patients herself and helping them over the 50 years of her career.
Sounds like a great book. And then are you the one that wrote the book back there that's in the corner?
Yes, that's my book called The Glutathione Revolution.
Can
Uh,
you up here so we can see it?
yeah, absolutely. That's my book, The Glutathione Revolution. Fight disease, slow aging, and increase energy with the master antioxidant.
Wants more energy. So
So
yeah.
everybody wants more energy. And this has been my research for the last 25 plus years because, yes, I love hormones and I help patients with hormones. You need a doctor to be seen to get the right evaluation done and things like that. Versus the glutathione, I can do remotely to anybody and everybody in the whole world. So that's what I've been doing for the last 20 plus years. And now I'm teaching doctors and telling them about the miracle, how we can help with that as well.
Sounds like you have several different passion projects that are starting to come together. It's amazing.
At the end of the day, I only want to work with something that our body produces naturally, right? I'm not looking for a miracle molecule that exists in the world. Body doesn't have it, right? Guess what? That doesn't need it. It does not need it. The body only needs fuel to survive, and everything else it needs to protect itself is inside our body, right? If we have infections, we have a strong immune system that will kill all infections,
And
right?
that's
But
stress right there.
unless the stress is that the immune system goes weaker, and now all of a sudden, guess what? You need antibiotics, antivirals, whatever else you can do to help you out. But if your immune system is intact, you don't need anything to survive.
So for anybody else who wants more of this information, where can we find you? Where can we just dive into your world?
So My pharmacy is Central Drugs. And if you go to centraldrugsrx.com, that is CENTRALDRUGSRX.com. That's my website. You can contact through that and it will come to me and my team. We have about 8 pharmacists working full time, and our full time job is to basically educate people. And so everybody has a passion to help patients out, to master their own health. And so we are here to help you. We're here to serve. And so we don't prescribe medication. So we'll be more than happy to work with your physicians and train them to help you instead as well. So either way,
I love
we'll
that.
be able to help you.
I love talking to people who have just this amazing passion to help somebody else and that thrive off of that. So I love that you have the same passion, the same thing that makes you tick that I do.
Yeah, a
Thank
lot of
you.
people have that, but the way to monetize it as well. Because you cannot provide free services for the rest of your life to survive. As long as we are okay with our monetization of our products, we're able to keep on offering free services for the rest of your life.
I feel like that's the main point, and then the other one is that imposter syndrome of, "No, I actually can help people. What I know and what I can do has worth." And then it goes to them, they're still pretty the same in that way, like, it goes to that monetization, but I know so many people have these great ideas, but they just won't take that step.
True. That is true. But if you're looking for a doctor and if you don't have a doctor, go to thrivelab.com. It's an online portal. They serve all 50 states, and you don't have to leave your house from the online portal.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely be recommending that to all the different people who've been coming to me saying, "I need help with this hormone thing." So many people that I've talked to,
Uh-huh.
a lot of maybe half of them know it's hormone related, but the other half don't realize that it is hormone related until I say something and they're like, then
Gotcha.
you can see that light bulb starting to turn on or screw it or whatever. And it makes a difference. And it's crazy how much this small gland takes charge of everything. It's kind of the one that's running the orchestra.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and for just imparting so much wisdom and for your patience with everything that happened dog related during this record.
Well, thanks for having me here today. I appreciate the time, and I hope this was informative enough for the consumers to take action, right? Now you understand what the hormones can do for you. Don't have to change every single thing. Sometimes a small change can have a profound impact in your health. And so look for the small changes that you can do every single day in your life. And if you can do that part, you can master the hormone therapy yourself without having anybody mess with your hormones.
I love that. And then the nugget that I took from all of this is that you don't want to struggle through the pain. Like, just go through it. If something's not right, do something about it. Start to reach out for help. And we tend to, as a society, just kind of brush it all into its PMS.
And the unfortunate part, because the thing is, it says that, oh, everybody suffers from that, but so you're not so special,
Mhm.
right? And you suck it up and just deal with it, right? That's the society is forcing women to deal with it and suffer in silence. And what I'm saying is that no, you don't have to do that part. You really do not have to. You're warriors, but at the same time, we don't give you gold medals for suffering. I wish there was a medal for not suffering, but that's what the society doesn't do that part. And so I wish everybody does not take this thing for granted. That if you have good health, enjoy the good health. But if you're not feeling good, do not have to suffer. You ask help, you talk to people until you find a solution.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I am your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach dedicated to empowering individuals to rediscover their identity, find balance amidst chaos, strengthen relationships, and pursue their dreams. My goal is to help people thrive in every aspect of their lives. I hope today's discussion inspired you and offered valuable insights. Stay engaged with our wellness community by signing up for my newsletter at wellnessinEverySeason.com/free resources. When you join, you'll have the option to receive a 5-day guide called Awaken and Unwind. 5 days to mastering your mornings and evenings, along with free guides, special offers on my programs, practical tips, personal stories, and much more, all related to wellness, by signing up for both offers on the page. Don't miss out on these valuable resources designed to help you thrive in every area of wellness. Join today and start your journey to wellness in every season. Your shares, subscriptions, and reviews help us reach more people seeking empowerment. So please spread the word about our podcast and about our newsletter. Thank you for being a part of our podcast community. I look forward to continuing our conversation, sharing stories, and exploring wellness in all of its aspects. Take care until our next episode. You can also work with me one-on-one or on demand through one of my programs by visiting wellnessineveryseason.com/programs. One last thing to cover the show legally, I am a certified life coach giving general advice. So think of this more as a self-help book. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so this podcast shouldn't be taken as a replacement for professional guidance from a doctor or therapist. If you want personal one-on-one coaching from a certified life and parenting coach, go to my website, wellnessineveryseason.com. That's where you can get personalized coaching from me for you. See you in next week's episode.